Well, welcome to Life's Journey Production Studios. My name is Keith, and I'm excited that you are on live with me. So if you are here live, please give me a shout out. I see a few people jumping on here. I've actually really decided early this afternoon to jump on here. Let me know if the lips and everything are in sync and everything's looking good. I just really wanted to have a few minutes today to talk about this whole extreme ATM that's out there with the ISO. I've already done a live stream about it, talked about if I was going to purchase it or not. But what I wanted to really discuss today is some things that I think that we can do to extend our ATEM Mini Pros. I have an ATEM Mini Pro here in the studio. Hey, Freddie, it's good to have you on. And I'm not sure how to say that, Hepazaz. So anyway, it's great to have you guys on with me. I am going to have a few minutes here tonight for questions and answers. At least it's 5:30 here on the West Coast, and I'm not sure where all of you guys are from, so let me know where you're from. I appreciate you jumping on here. If you subscribe to the channel, you're getting these alerts, so I appreciate the subscriptions. Thank you so much. What I really wanted to do today is in this video, let me go ahead and start recording here so I have a backup. I'm using the ATEM Mini Pro. That's what's been the centerpiece of my studio. I also use the Rodecaster Pro, which is kind of my audio interface, and I come from the audio side of things. And I was looking at the ATEM Mini right when the Pro came out. So I was looking for a switcher. I was looking for something to simplify things, have multiple cameras here in the studio. I was dealing with a Canon 5D Mark III, which times out, even if you put the dummy battery in it, and I was going to get some new cameras. So I was really looking at Blackmagic Design equipment. And knowing that Blackmagic Design was very well known, I have some friends here at a local church that's using Blackmagic Design equipment. And so I just decided I would dive in. Also knowing that things were happening and streaming was going to be possibly the go-to thing, right? Because of what was going on in our world, not just here in the United States with all of the quarantines, and the people I was listening to were talking about it on YouTube. And I do a lot of my data mining, right, to get the information that we all need. I got to go on YouTube because it's just a great place. For a while, I had a lynda.com account, which is a great place to learn. I absorbed so much there, and that was a subscription. And then LinkedIn purchased lynda.com, and so I kept my account for a while. And then I was learning so much through some of my mentors here on social media that I just decided that that's where I was going to go. What I liked about is getting out of the classroom setting and more into the live setting. So I love the live streams. I love the videos coming out every week. I love that a lot of these guys who are streaming on YouTube, like me, are actually using the equipment. It's trying to solve the same problem. So my production company, Life's Journey Productions, the whole idea came out of my content experience. I spent a number of years in content in a large RV dealership here in the Northwest. Prior to that, I was in sales and been doing video production for a lot of years. My first video camera, or my first camera that I own, was a Panasonic HMC 150, which is a video camera, not a DSLR. But I have such a passion for photography. I wanted to get, once I started learning about the 5D Mark III, and prior to that to the Mark II, and the fact that these DSLRs started doing video, and a lot of you guys know that history, or maybe you don't, but just a little history, that I knew there's a lot of problems that you needed to solve, right? So could you stream clean video out? You know, was it going to be 422, 8-bit, 10-bit? All of these questions that I started learning. And when I really started learning on lynda.com, I was just trying to figure out what aperture was and what shutter speeds you would use. Because my Panasonic HMC 150 had ND filters built into it, had the little monitor screen, had XLRs in instead of the little 1/8 inch jacks, like even my mini or 3.5 jacks like my ATEM Mini Pro right here in the studio. So we're always, if we're in and around this and adjusting to what's going on in our world today, and if you're doing Zoom, or if you are running your own YouTube channel, or you're doing training videos, if you're going to do a YouTube channel like I'm doing this YouTube channel, a lot of the reasons I'm doing things on YouTube channels because I have clients and different people that I'm talking with, and it's just a lot easier for me to lay this stuff down and have these conversations so they're available. So I don't have to continue to repeat everything all the time to these clients. They can just gather that stuff for free, including those of you who are on with me live tonight. Those of you who are listening to this after it's been live. You know, you can glean that information. You can learn from the things that I'm doing, and I want to learn as well. So when people engage me here on YouTube, especially if they have a channel, right, then they're doing some of the same things. A lot of times I will go there and check out that channel. When you get a subscriber here on YouTube, you get a little email alert. It kind of tells you how many subscribers they have. And so, I mean, I get lots of subscribers that only have no subscribers or one subscriber, which is great. If you're out there learning, maybe you're using it on Facebook, maybe you're using it in a business, none of that makes any difference to me. But if I see someone has a channel, I go and look and see what they're doing. And I'm kind of shocked. There's a lot of amazing looking material out there that's going on social media, even with an iPhone. And we're going to talk about this here shortly, so stay tuned. So let me tell you a little bit where I want to go. I want to talk about some splitters. I want to talk about some little switches that are very inexpensive. I'm using 4 right now. I have 2 splitters and I have 2 switches. I've been trying to see, can I help people continue to experience what they really need to experience with their ATEM Mini Pros. So that's really what I want to focus on today. So we have 4 channels, HDMI inputs on a Pro or an ATEM Mini or an ATEM Mini ISO. And if you've watched my Extreme video, or if you looked out there, the new video, ATEM Mini Extreme, which I say it's just an ATEM Extreme, drop the name Mini, has 8 inputs. It has 2 HDMI outputs. My Pro and the ATEM Mini and the ATEM Mini ISO only have 1 HDMI out. And there's a difference between the Mini HDMI out, which is just the program out, and then my ATEM Mini Pro. And if you have an ISO, that actually has the ability to do program out or multi-view out. So I'm looking at a multi-view right now. So if I'm not looking directly at the camera, I don't have a teleprompter. I have my monitor right here below my camera, and this is my main camera, and this is kind of my main look. But I can also switch over to camera 2 and switch around like this. And I call this kind of my studio shot. This is kind of a wide shot. You can see my keyboard for my PC. And I also have a laptop right here, so you can just see the lower part of it. My PC, my NZXT is right here. I don't have it all lit up right now, but it's right here. It creates extra heat, and I'm not using it in the stream. And then you can see my lights in the back, my Manfrotto Autopo tool 2, which is one of the tools that you could use as well in your studio to hang lights from. And then you can kind of see my soft boxes that hang from my ceiling. And so I like to show this view as well, because a lot of times we go for this clean look, right? It's all clean. I have all the cool stuff on my shelves, a little bit of light back there. I even have LED lights now on the floor that I'm experimenting with, because I have a set back here for our podcast. And then I also have the ability, because I'm using these switchers, I have the ability to do some switching. So I can use my 4 inputs, and I can switch now through in 2 of those inputs. I can switch from 4 different inputs. So I'm using my Hyperdeck the Hyperdeck Mini has 2 outputs. It has a regular channel and alpha channel. And I have a video here on my channel you can look at in my kind of studio tour series. And so the Hyperdeck will play video, and it'll also record video. So it has 3 SDIs, and so 2 of them are in outputs for main channel and alpha channel, and the other one is the input, and that's SDI. And it was really designed to go with some of the HD Studio products that were mainly SDIs, so you could come out of that and record, because there's not a recorder built into some of those products. So the fact that we have the ability to add some of these really inexpensive items, and if you do any research like I did, you're going to find there's people out there that say the problem with adding like an HDMI switcher is that it's not instantaneous. But what I found is if I'm switching between my Hyperdeck in channel 3, the main out, and the alpha channel out, unless I'm playing a video, those channels really don't matter. So if I was to switch right now to my alpha channel, I'll show you this. It's going to play my wife's podcast intro called More About Birth. So let's just switch to channel 3 right now, and it's going to auto roll. And this is what a lot of people, I'll turn the audio off. This is what a lot of people are using for the Hyperdeck. So they're taking up channel 3 or 4 in their Hyperdeck, and we'll turn that back off again. All the way, sorry. So they're using that channel, and it's taken up by this device. The Hyperdeck takes up 2 channels. And so if you're not going to show a video, or you're not going to be showing a lower thirds animated graphic, which is what the Hyperdeck really can do, then how can you get, how can you use that other input? Because remember, it has a recording input. So right now, if I was to hit record, just the record button once, and I've already shared this, but I want to talk about how you can switch. So basically, I already have a switcher in my studio. My Hyperdeck is a switcher. I can switch between record mode, which would be an input, or I can switch between play mode. But because it's coming into my channel 4 and my channel 3, then now I can switch on those 2 channels between record mode and play mode. So again, here's play mode, right? So what happens if I hit stop? And I'm going to hit stop right now, and that's what it looks like when I hit stop. But what happens if I hit record right now? Let's just see what happens if I hit the record button. It goes to my iPhone. So you're seeing my iPhone, and this is actually an app called Double Take. It's free. I believe it's available on the iTunes store. I understand that at least what I'm looking at, I look a little pinkish, but I just wanted to show you, you could use Filmic Pro, or you could use Double Take. And the cool thing about this Double Take app is I can move the lower thirds around. I can make just my lower thirds my main camera by just tapping on this icon. I can actually record both sides of this app. And my voice may be delayed. I apologize. I do have a delay built into the ATEM Mini Pro to take care of this camera, but if the audio is off, I apologize. And then I can go side by side. So I'm using the other side of my smartphone. I'll look here, and I'm using this side of my smartphone, so you can see me, but you can also see my desk. So there's my monitor, there's my main camera, here is my ATEM Mini Pro, and you can see my softbox behind me at the same time. So it's really cool. So an app like this is pretty amazing. And so here's kind of here's my 4 inputs. So I can literally have 4 inputs on my BenQ monitor. So I do this to get ready for live streams to make sure all the signals are coming in here. And so if I was to go back right now and hit the play button on my ATEM Mini here and hit play, watch what happens to the picture you're seeing. So now you are seeing my ATEM Mini play. So I can switch this way. Let's go back to the main camera now. Sorry, I'm on dog duty, so I let Zoe out. And so now I'm back to the main camera. So now I've been able to take advantage of my output 3 and 4. And so what you saw would be playing in both 3 and 4. When you have your Hyperdeck SDIs out plugged into channel 3 and 4, you see the camera that's recording, which was my iPhone. If I had pushed record again, it would start recording, and then things would change. But because I discovered that this is a switcher, then you can get a Hyperdeck, and now you can have a different device come in to your podcast. So I'll bring this into my shot here. And so right now I'm using my iPhone, it's tethered. And because I have it plugged into the Hyperdeck input, then I have the ability to show you this phone. So again, my Hyperdeck has the ability to switch. So let's say I don't want to switch here to this. So let's just go back to play on my Hyperdeck. So I have my video all ready to go. So that's what I'm used to seeing on my screen. I'll rewind that real quick so it's all ready. And then let's say I want to switch those channels and have something different come in than the ATEM Mini 4 channels. Then what happens if I add a switch? And so what I did, and you can see it on our still tonight, and I'll pop that up here real quick. I have these two items. Mouse died here. Hang on a second. Okay, so you're not going to work for me, huh? Let's try on air here. So if you see in this still image that's on the screen right now, you can see on the right-hand side, I have the Hyperdeck, which gives me the ability to switch in the channel 3 and 4. But I also have a splitter and I have a switch. So the switch is the first thing up there on the right. Let's bring up my picture-in-picture here. Oh, I can't do that when I have a still up. So I know you're only hearing my voice, but so on the right is the splitter and on the left is the switch. So what happens if I switch, right? So what if I add the switch into the system and I want to switch through different things? What I have done is I've taken the same two channels, channel 3 and channel 4, and I've added other items to them. So I've added one other option in channel 3, and I've added two options in channel 4. So in channel 3, you have the Hyperdeck, which you saw, but I also have my desktop. So let me show you, let me demo that now. So if I go back to this shot, hit stop, and now if I hit the 3 switch, you can see it go dead for a minute. And I'm just showing you how long it takes. And there, now you have my desktop. So now I have another ability to bring in another item into my live stream. So I could bring in my desktop if I needed to show you how to run the software. And I can actually drag in this software into that shot. So I could bring in the ATEM software, and I could have had it set up to demo that software. I'm not going to do that tonight, but I wanted you to see that I could have dragged that in and had that ready for this moment in the stream. So if I hit that button again, it takes that long to switch back to my Hyperdeck video. So how does that help you in a live situation? Well, I don't have to show it to you. I could be prepping it right now instead of showing you my video, right? Which is right here. Right? And it starts to pre-roll. What if I wanted to show you, instead of that, my camera again? So I would hit the record button on my Hyperdeck. My camera comes live, right? And then I switch in my stream to my camera to show you my studio. So then we switch that back. So I also, let's say I wanted to show you my desktop. So I hit my button on my little switch. And after I see it go live here, then I'll show it to you. So I will then switch over to channel 3 and show you my desktop. So now let's do some channel 4. So right now in channel 4, I'm going to fire it up here. I have my, I call it my Skycam. And in channel 4, I have my Skycam camera. And I also have my Multiview. And so let's try switching channel 4 here. Make sure this camera is on, because that's my Canon 5D Mark III that times out. And so that's my Skycam. So if I wanted to show you my Skycam, then I'm going to switch to channel 4, my ATEM Mini, and there's my Skycam. So you've seen the camera 1, right? And then I can switch over here to camera 2. And now I could switch over to channel 4 and be in my Skycam. And that's me right here. So now if I want to switch my Skycam to another input, like I wanted to show you my Multiview, then I would just go back to my main camera and I would hit that switch right here. And once I see on my preview monitor my Multiview come up, then I could switch you to my Multiview. So I could show my desktop in this stream, three cameras. I could actually, if I wanted to, now I've taken up my alpha channel, so I wouldn't be able to show you any graphics that were fly-in graphics during this live stream because I don't have the alpha channel hooked up. I'm using channel 4 for my Skycam and for my multicam. And you can see it right now in the multicam view. You can see me in the preview, and you can see my Multiview on the right, which is the main live camera, right? That's the program view. Then you can below that, you can see my audio levels, you can see my stream and my recording, and you can see my little graphic that's ready to go there. So I could switch to that graphic just by turning on the key and then right back off again. And if I had a lower third set up, then I could drop that in the media pool and be able to show you that as well. So let's just break this down. If you're going to try to keep the ATEM Mini Pro and you don't want to upgrade to the Extreme or the ISO and you're happy with just recording the program, which I'm recording the program, so everything that you've seen except for the first few minutes are on here, and I'm not probably going to, I'll just leave this on YouTube. I'm probably not going to do anything with that recording. It just gives me a backup. If I lose something on YouTube, I have a backup of this particular stream. So again, channel 1 is my main camera and it's dedicated to my camera. Channel 2 is my second camera. That's kind of my wide studio shot. It's dedicated, and I'm using the same microphone, the same input, channel 1 in my ATEM Mini Pro, and everything I'm doing. So if there's any delay, I haven't even looked at that. I'll watch the video back. If there's any delay when I go to my iPhone, then let me know. So I have those two cameras, and because I still have the Skycam is right now, channel 4 is now showing my Multiview. If I switch to channel 4, I have my Multiview. But if I didn't want my Multiview, I could reach over here while I'm in camera 1 and I could hit the switch. And as soon as I see my Skycam come on, then I could basically now switch to my Skycam. And let's say I also want you to be able to see my my Hyperdeck, right, in channel 3. So let me switch it over here. So now, literally, with this up, got to go back here 1 second. So here's the Hyperdeck right now in channel 3. And that's actually a recording. And if I switch back to channel 1, then, and go into program, then I can actually switch this to a camera. And then now literally I have all of these views available to me. So I have my camera 1, which you're watching, camera 2, which is this camera, which is just always like that. Camera 3. Which is giving me trouble right now. And then my Skycam. So now one of the things with your Hyperdeck that you need to be really careful with is you don't want to hit record twice, because it's a switch when you hit, so I can see on my Hyperdeck right now that I have my camera working on channel 3. I'm switching over now to see if it'll fire up. There we go. And so now if I switch over to the Hyperdeck channel 3, then you have this camera right here. And so you literally have 3 cameras. So camera 1, right there, I'm holding this camera. Camera 2, right there. Skycam, which is actually 4, it's right there. Then switch to camera 3. And then that's my mobile cam, which I could quickly give you a tour around the studio. And you're seeing both sides because I'm using the Double Take app. And so check out the Double Take app. It's pretty cool. I could also switch over. So I'll go back to camera 1. I could also change apps here and demo really quickly Filmic Pro, which is the app I would normally use in a situation like this to stream, because it works really great as a full-size camera. So now I'll switch back again to the Hyperdeck. And this is more of a traditional full-size camera, which is probably what you would use if you're gonna use your phone as a, let's put up picture-in-picture here right now. Yeah, so it's really tiny, but you can see me up there. So if you're gonna use this as a regular app, this is what you would do. And the sad thing is this is the default size of the picture-in-picture. So you would have to go in to the palette and make that just a little bit bigger. And then bring it over, which is kind of tedious, and then bring it down. And so now you have picture-in-picture. It's a little bit bigger, and you can see that I'm using this other camera. So I have 4 cameras, and I could still go back, guys, to my Hyperdeck if I wanted to, and play a video. I could still go to my desktop by using these switches and all of that. So again, what I'm doing is I'm using these 2 little devices. The HDMI splitter is there on the right above the Hyperdeck, and that's a little splitter. It's HDMI switch, or excuse me, it's a video, AVEDIO links HDMI splitter, 1 in, 2 out, 4K HDMI splitter for dual monitors and duplicating. And I'm using that to run displays in different places, and I'm not really demoing that, but that way you can get 2 programs out if you wanted to. So if you wanted to have a multi-view on a big monitor and also on a small confidence monitor right by your camera, you could do that. And I'm using that splitter for a number of things I'll talk about in the next live stream. But then this other item is the switch, right? And that switch on the top left between the ATEM Mini Pro and the splitter, that is a little switch, and it's by Techole, Techole, and it's an ATEM switch, 4K HDMI splitter, and it's 2 inputs to 1, and that's the little item that I'm using to split all of this. And I think it's pretty crazy when you think about it, because I'm getting all of these other abilities, right? I can cut right now to my Skycam. I could switch back to my Hyperdeck if I wanted to. I can cut to camera 2. And then, like I said, I also have my little mobile camera here and camera number 3, which I can do. And so it's pretty incredible that you can expand yourself. Now, it takes a little getting used to. I'm not saying it's easy to make all these switches. I actually have a little cheat sheet here to let me know what I had plugged in there. But it's just like everything else you're using when you're streaming. You get used to these switches, and I use the software a lot, but if I have a mouse that doesn't work, I know where to go up on my ATEM Mini Pro and turn on my still for today's live stream. So I just go up and hit the button. I don't use the still button. I go up and hit the key on button because that's where I have it set up, and just flip it on and off. And that's right next to the record button, which is right next to the on air button. So again, those of you that are on here, do you have any questions? Go ahead and type them in there, and we'll talk about that a little bit. I just do want to let you know I am using the HDMI splitter to be able to send things different directions. Like right now, I will demo one thing here because you guys are on here. You deserve to see this. So let me put my little mobile camera up here. So it's going to give you the infinity view, but I can see with my BenQ, I've split that, and I have an input coming from the channel that I'm using right now to my channel 3. So I've split that so I can see it in my monitor, but I also have split the program view. So here's my confidence monitor with the program view. And I also have it coming up here into my BenQ monitor, which will let me do 4 different screens. I have the bottom right-hand one off right now. I use that for my other PC, and my other PC sits right here. And I use that for some of the heavy lifting. And I bump the cable. So you want to be careful if you're using your phone as a tool. So I've split the HDMI out of my ATEM Mini Pro, and so that's going to be multi-view or program view. And so if I just want to have it program view, I can have just what you're seeing up on both this monitor right here and that monitor over there. And then I also used a splitter. I'll show you this. Let's cut back to camera 3. On camera 2, let's go ahead and switch over to camera 2. So this is camera 2. And on camera 2, you can see that I have split the camera, right? Do a close-up. So I have a confidence monitor, so I know that that's what camera 2 is seeing. So if I'm talking to that camera, I can see myself. So when I cut to channel 2, I have a confidence monitor up there, and I know the lights are kind of cutting everything out. Let's see if I can use this Filmic Pro app to cut the light down so you guys can see that. So without changing the settings. So again, I have the ability to switch you over there, and then you can see that confidence monitor right there. And that's what I'm seeing. And so it's nice to have this little mobile camera to show people around the studio. Not showing you blank spaces, but showing you around the studio. So would I have all these things hooked up? No, typically what I'm going to do is I'm going to use what I call my Skycam to be shooting down at my desk. So this is the view that I normally have shooting down my desk. If I was showing people how to use the tools on my desk, I probably would not use my phone. But if I was given a tour of the studio, I would have my phone fired up. I even have a tripod. I can put it on and just spin it around. I like the double take app because it lets me show both sides. So I would probably have my Skycam pointing down at my desk, and that's what you would see. But right now I have it as a studio Skycam. And then I would use camera number 2 because a lot of times I need to turn around and use my laptop. So I would have this more close up if I was actually doing a training. So that camera is more in this position. Sorry about that. I'm going to be showing things on my desk because my Rodecaster Pro sits right below this camera. And so if I'm talking to you and I'm showing my Rodecaster Pro on the down camera, then I'm going to have this view. And I also have access to my Stream Deck and my Hyperdeck, and it's all centered between these two cameras. So obviously I'm going to switch back and forth, and I have monitors on both sides now. And I just added that confidence monitor over camera number 2 by using the splitter yesterday. And I just thought it's something really cool I want to talk about. So again, that splitter, guys, is that top right item is the splitter, and it'll do 4K, and so will the switch. And they have a little bit more expensive one that does 4K up to 60 frames per second. So if you decide to try to use a splitter, I'm going to have links here on this live stream after we're done, and you can look it up there. So I'm looking here at your guys' questions. Freddie's asking, Keith, what do you think about using the ATEM Mini SDI to HDMI 8K HDR with the Hyperdeck Studio Mini? Well, here's the deal. What I love about the Hyperdeck is that it is the, you know, it's got the recording capability. I know about the ATEM. I've never had one, so I've never had my hands on one. I did some research on that. Blackmagic has a lot of different devices. I think that the ATEM Minis, when they got to the pro level, kind of muddy the waters a little bit because they have the encoder in it. They can record. You can stream directly from them, which is great if you're going to do remote stuff. Like there's a lot of people doing weddings right now, especially during the COVID season where they had to only have a handful of people there and they wanted to stream to all their family members. They were reaching out to everybody. Even people asked me if I did that at the time, and I was not set up to be able to do a wedding. So I think recording, Freddie, is pretty cool, but you probably know more about the ATEM Mini. What I like about it is the ATEM Mini does all of the transcoding and stuff in there. So I looked at it for that. Like, for instance, if I bring in my 4K camera, and I want to record to the Hyperdeck, I only have the one 4K monitor. So Freddie, the reason I hooked up the BenQ monitor was I wanted to be able to see the camera that I was recording to the Hyperdeck. I didn't realize that when I hooked up the Hyperdeck and I bought the SDI or the HDMI to SDI converter so that I could come out of my EOS R, come out 422 high C-Log recording, not C-Log, but high HDMI recording out to the Hyperdeck. I didn't realize that the screen on the Hyperdeck would be all that I would be seeing. My monitors couldn't display 4K, my portable monitors, and I have two of those. Let me show you those real quick here. Make sure my mobile cam is live. You've seen those monitors, but now let me just chat about them for 1 second. So that's the port keys. It's the 1080p. It will not receive 4K. And then this monitor right here is the iCan. It's an older model. It's the VK71, and that won't receive a 4K signal either. So my dilemma here in my studio was, how do I see a bigger screen and make sure my colors are right and all that stuff? And so I hooked it up to my BenQ monitor. And so now I have the ability, when I'm using that camera, I can hook it up here. And I do not have that hooked up that way. I still have some routing that I have to do some of the different things I want to do. So, and you know, still things like that. I just hit the auto, and if you hold it down, if you don't tap it, if you hold it down, it feels like a double click and it'll stop in the middle of a transition. And in the studio, when I was running decks and transitioning, you had the knob, which you also can see on the software. So I don't know. I hope that answers your question, Freddie. I apologize. Again, the ATEM Mini, I think, is a great little device, and I know that it has the SDI out as well. So it would solve the same situation that I have with my EOS R, but it was just less expensive to buy the HDMI, the SDI converter. But the ATEM probably will eventually be a piece of equipment that I'll end up owning. So let me just say this real quick. I don't thank you, Freddie, for the good job. And oh, I know who that is. He calls me dad all the time. So evidently I've made a reputation of being a good dad. So you'll have to ask my kids how true that is. It's because of the things I'm doing with Bryson, my son, and a shout out to him. He hit diamond today. And I know I didn't put this up a day before. I know these lives are coming up maybe a half hour before, because I just really want to get this stuff out on my channel. It gives me a chance to have these conversations, and hopefully a question will spur on more for me training. What I've been working on, maybe if you're wondering, I have a couple clients that have been their churches, they've been closed down and now they're opening back up. So they've been streaming like from offices or even homes from iPhones. Some of them are using the Mevo cameras. But now they want to do something in their auditoriums, but they also have limited access for people to attend, and they want to be prepared for that. So what I've been researching recently is getting signals from these switching devices into other rooms. And that's kind of been what I've been focusing on. And I may do a video. I have a friend that lives over on the other side of the state that when the weather's nice enough for us to go over and he has all the equipment, we're going to head over there and do some install. And so I've been looking at the YoloBox, which is a all-in-one little streaming tool, about a little smaller than an iPad, and everything's built into it. You got the HDMI 1 and 2 on the top. You have a USB input. You have audio inputs, but it doesn't have the ability to sync like you can do delay in the ATEM Mini Pro. Well, actually, in the ATEM Mini ISO, the Pro, the Extremes, and the Mini, you can now adjust the audio frames and do delay on channel 1 and channel 2. And so if you're using those two channels like I do here in the studio, sending the signal from my Rodecaster Pro, then all I have to do is go in and set the delay. And my Canon EOS R and most of the Canon cameras, if the runs are about the same length, they have about a 4 to 5 frame delay. So yeah, Freddie, I would love to hear more about what you're doing in your studio. You know, obviously 8K is coming. I tell people 4K is coming, so we're all excited about the Extreme and the ISO. And yeah, 4K is just around the corner. I have 2 cameras now in my studio that shoot 4K, and I cannot record 4K on the ATEM Mini Pro. I will not be able to record ATEM Mini on the Extreme or the ISO, Extreme ISO. So, but they're great solutions, and I think they're pretty incredible what they can do with Super Source, the extra key ability, both upstream and downstream, and then obviously having some new kind of cool features as well, like headphones is really cool. Like right now, I can't hear any audio in the studio, but my BenQ monitor, when I hit play on my Hyperdeck, the left quadrant on my BenQ monitor, which I think is really, really cool for me here in the studio. So if I go to that camera again, this top quadrant up here will actually play audio, and I can raise and lower the audio from this little puck because I have it set that way. So you can hear my audio come up, and there's actually delay now. So if I wanted to hear a video to preview it before a show, then I have the ability to do that with the BenQ monitor. So that's exciting for me because it solved a problem for me to just make sure my videos had audio and that everything's going to be ready for when I go live in an event like this. And then, so there's been mixed reviews evidently about the Rodecaster Pro, and I have a video here on it. But one of the things I like about the Rodecaster Pro, especially for these live streams, and I'll switch to that camera again, is that I have my music on this pad. You can see it's playing right now, but I have the audio off. So I can turn that off, back on again. And if I wanted to bring audio into this podcast or this live stream, all I have to do is bring that knob up. And so my Shure SM7B is in this channel right here. And again, I've shared that before. It comes out of the main outputs into this HOSA switch. And when I'm not in the studio working, I put it on channel 3, and that channel 3 in this switch goes to my channel 1 on my ATEM Mini. So it's 2 1/4-inch out, right and left into a Mini. And that Mini jack is plugged in right there, though the light's not good enough back there for you guys to see. But that's why I have channel 1 on, and I also have audio on my, and we'll turn that to audio follow video on my channel 3. So hopefully you guys weren't getting double feedback because I had that on. Because anytime you switch to channel 3, anytime you switch to channel 3, if you have it audio follow video, that video pops on. If you have it on, like I just did, it's popping on every time I use that camera. And if I had the audio on my little iPhone on that app on, then you would be getting double delay audio. So hopefully I wasn't doing that. So let me just say this in closing, guys. If you are going to use the switches like I'm using here in the studio, you're going to want to spend some time working with them and deciding exactly what you want. And so I'm having to do some rewiring every time I'm live. I have a guy I follow, Aaron Parecki from Portland, and he just hit 20,000 subscribers, and he does a lot of training on the ATEMs, and he has a matrix that you can get from Blackmagic where you can actually change what input, what camera or what input goes to what input on the ATEM Mini, and you can just drag and drop those things in the software. But to simplify things, I thought it'd be nice just to go right here and have 2 switches and be able to switch back and forth, because I know that I don't need all this extra time to switch. Like I just hit the button on my channel 4. So if I want to switch to channel 4 now, I can show you my multi-screen again. And so the delay that would happen live if I did that, and that's the delay you're seeing. And now you've gone back to my Skycam, right? I don't have to show that to anybody because I can have this camera on and then I can do that switching. So my Skycam is now changing over to my Multiview, and then I can do the transition and then I can go back. And so obviously it would affect picture in picture. So if I had my Multiview on and I, for some reason, wanted to bring in my picture in picture, which doesn't make much sense in this situation because it just goes over top of the program view out. But then obviously if I wanted to switch then and have this screen up, then you would see the delay and the switching if I was trying to do 2 things at once. That's why I've left my channel 1 clean, right? So I can use picture in picture all the time from this view. I also leave camera 2 clean, which means that I only have 1 HDMI input coming in. I'm not splitting it. To try to do a switch, I am splitting channel 2 to give me that confidence monitor that you guys saw. So channel 2 does have the confidence monitor above it, and that helps me be able to have an idea of what the shot looks like. It doesn't let me know what the program is, and I could change that and send the program over there. And yesterday I made the decision that I just wanted a confidence monitor so I could see what that camera is seeing. And I'm not super excited about that angle either, just because I've got my big screen TV back there. But I will use this view sometimes to talk about the streaming bridge, because I can send the streaming bridge from the network. I can send it to that TV, and then I can show people what they would be seeing on the ATEM streaming bridge, which is a cool device as well. It will let you go to other places outside of your studio if you have the ability to get through your firewall and through their firewall. And if I wanted to do a call-in guest, they would have to call into my streaming bridge. And here's another reason why the ATEM Mini Extreme is attractive, is that you could always have your guests plugged in the channels 7 and 8 and have them dedicated for guests calling in, and you could have 2 guests on and you in Super Source when you have an ATEM Extreme or an ATEM extreme ISO. I can only do one picture-in-picture in my studio, so I don't have the luxury of doing that. So if I was to do a guest, I would have to assign them to this picture-in-picture view, and I can assign anything to that one frame, and I can move it anywhere on the screen. So I could put me on the side and I could put them on the other side, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And that's probably, to me, the most attractive thing about the Extreme is the super source. I do think the other inputs are huge. That will help all of us because you wouldn't need a lot of these switches that I'm doing right now if you had that dialed in. So I'm going to experiment with this. I'm sharing it with you. I'm going to put the links here. I have tested these two items. I had two of them come in a couple weeks ago. And then I added two more that came in yesterday because I really wanted to take up channel 4 and 5 when I'm not showing alpha graphics. I wanted 4 when I'm not going to do any lower third motion graphics. Then I don't use channel 4. So that means I could have with a switch 2 more inputs. So that gives me my main 3 plus 2 in channel 4. And you can do the math. Then now I have 5 inputs instead of just 3 plus my alpha channel. So it's pretty exciting to be able to get 5 and then using channel 3 as well. I add 1 more. So in reality, what you guys are seeing today is 6 in the back of my ATEM Mini. And then if you add the Hyperdeck and you do the trick, right, of going between the play mode for videos and the record mode, then now you can bring that other channel input into the channel 3 of the Hyperdeck as long as I don't have it switched over. So again, so I'm sharing the Hyperdeck channel 3 with one other input, plus I have the Hyperdeck's second input. So there's 3 things right now that come into channel 3, and I have 2 things coming into channel 4. And the 2 things I have coming into channel 4 is my Skycam and my Multiview, because I wanted you guys to see the Multiview and see how things are delayed and switching. So, well, that's it. Man, my mouth is dry. I hope that this has helped some of you guys. I know this information sometimes is overwhelming, so that's why I'm trying to make sure I answer any questions. Yeah, I mean, what I'm thinking about, Freddie, is your question is, did I mention that I'm going to use the Blackmagic camera? I would probably go for the new 6K Pro. Right during the same announcement of the ATEM Mini Extreme, they announced a Pro. I almost bought a Pro, Freddie, and the rest of you guys are listening to. The 6K, sorry, not the Pro, the 6K came very close because I wanted to have it semi-future proof. When I started doing research and the monitor didn't do any articulating, I even did research on the mod. There was a company doing the modifications, but now that I know that Blackmagic Design has done that mod, it almost looks like they have an agreement with that mod company because it's almost identical. It can tilt up and it can tilt down, so you can do video up and you can do video down, but it still doesn't help you for having that EOS R flip around monitor like some of the Sony cameras have, and now the mirrorless cameras by Canon. You have the R, the RP, and you have the R6 and the R5, and they all have that articulating monitor. The downside is that's the same place the HDMI cable goes. So right now in my studio, and I can demo that real quickly so you can see it. Make sure my camera 3 is live again. There you go. And so I'm going to zoom in here. Sorry, guys, if this is going a little crazy. But right there, you can see that I have that little rollout. I'm running out of cord here. Let me tap on this. So you saw it come alive, and I have a little right angle HDMI cable because the cables that come straight out block the monitor. So I'm not super excited about that solution either. And I think that's why some of the Sony guys that have that flip up monitor, like the A6400 that a lot of people use, there's lots of cameras that are great for what we're doing right now, streaming. A lot of people do vlogging from like a EOS R. It's lighter than the DSLRs, the mirrorless cameras are. And so holding that around and having that monitor facing out, that would make it really usable. You probably wouldn't have an HDMI cable hanging out of it. But so anyway, so I'll probably eventually get the Blackmagic Design 6K Pro, because again, I can color it and set it up and match it. But the nice thing, Freddie, about having all Canon gear in here right now is the color science is very similar. So I can get a similar look by just doing auto white balance. And that's really all I'm doing, is I'm using auto white balance in here. I haven't got that technical. I definitely know how to do a custom white balance because I'm very much into photography. And if I wasn't in here where I have lots of control of all the light color, then I would probably be doing a custom white balance in here. When I shoot this way, like the Skycam sees, see if it's still alive. My 5D Mark III shuts off and I have to turn it off and back on again. But like this Skycam look, when I'm using this set, I'm live now on channel 4. And again, I just switched to that view. Then window light, if I use with the window open, or I have some of my colors on back here, like you can see my LED lights I have on the floor right now. I'm experimenting with those. They'll do any kind of color. I purchased those from Home Depot. And they're the Philips, not the Hue, they're the less expensive brand. And so I can actually change the color from my phone. So I have a light strip on the floor that's by the same Philips company. And then I have one bulb up there. And then the lights above shooting down, those are my LED panels. And they're by Great Video Maker, GVM. And they are the 50RSs. And I highly recommend those. And they are hanging up there on... I should let you guys see this. You deserve to get the behind the scenes stuff for being on live. But you can see they're both hanging up there on that Manfrotto Auto Pull 2. And I can move that forward or back. So if I want to do a table in the middle and I have my table over against the wall, I built that tabletop and put it on top of a Costco table. And I'll do a separate video on that. Then I could put those lights straight above there, but they work great right there. I use them as a separation and a hair light. So hope you guys aren't getting seasick from that camera. So, I mean, obviously this isn't as professional a live stream as I could make it, but there was so many different things that I wanted you guys to see. And this whole playlist that these live streams go on after they're live is for the studio behind the scenes tour, the different equipment that I'm using, because I really don't want people to have to spend all the hours that I spent doing research. I hope you can just come back to this channel and some of the other guys that I listen to. And if you want to know who else I'm listening to on social media, you can see some of my heroes in my last video. If you watch that all the way through, when I did that laptop unboxing, I think it was a laptop unboxing. Maybe it was the one on the Flex arms. I showed you my heroes and kind of gave them a challenge to collaborate with me. And it was just a fun thing for me to do. So I'd be happy to respond to those. Again, let me ask, see if there's any more questions. Cool. Thank you, Freddie. It's cool to have you on here. And it's just us. So other people are missing out. It says there's been 5 people here in the live chat, and obviously there'll be more people that'll watch the video, and I hope that this helps you out. So again, how do we solve some of the challenges, right? Let's talk about the Extreme and the ISO. I probably am going to get an ISO because I won't have to do all of this. I need a mobile kit and I need a studio kit. So I will still be employing all of these tricks that I'm learning in my mobile kit. That's probably where my Pro is going to go. unless I get so concerned about having ISO tracks that I decide to upgrade my ATEM Mini Pro to an ISO so I get a recording of all 4 channels. My Pro only records the program view, and that's what I'm recording. So what you see, all the mistakes and all its glory, is what I have recorded here. I do not have the luxury of firing up my ISO in DaVinci Resolve and changing some of the decisions I made and bringing in all of that other footage. So, man, if you have any ideas or tips or questions, please leave them here. That's all I have. So I hope you've learned a little bit about using these little switches, and again, these little switches, as well as these little multi-splitters that I have in the studio. And also, like I said, I will be talking more about what I'm learning about sending signals to monitors that I've been learning and done lots of research. So there's lots of ways of doing that. Freddie, you know, you could do SDI through the building to those other places, and you could use a lot of the gear some of these churches have right now, and some of the businesses that are doing kind of the broadcasting that some of the churches are doing now. But a lot of them don't have those tools, and they don't have the budget. So I've been looking at alternative ways through Cat 6 cable, which I have used before in my old studio to send HDMI signal to monitors. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But these are the tricks that I'm doing here in the studio to be able to do demos and do training. And I also do some other personal Zoom meetings with some of my clients, and it gives me the ability to show them different things in my studio. So I need these cameras like the Skycam and different things. So I even need to be able to show a whiteboard. So I have a whiteboard app on my iPad now, and a pencil. And so instead of using my phone like I did today, I'll plug that same adapter into my iPad, and now I can write on here and then put myself in picture. So there's lots of things that are available to us without buying an extreme and without buying the extreme ISO, but there's going to be things I can't do. I can't add more DVEs. I can't do super source. I don't have a headphone output in my ATEM Mini, or there's not one in the Pro or the ISO versions, but they are going to be in the Extreme. So take a look at those items, continue coming back here, because I'm going to be continuing to try to help the Pro and the Pro ISO users, as well as the ATEM Mini users. And obviously the ATEM Mini users are streaming through OBS or some other computer software. The other thing I learned this week about the Extreme, just give it a shout out, is that you could record, you could have 2 webcams out. So you literally could plug one USB-C out to one computer, like I have my laptop. And I've been promising I would show you all my laptop. So this is my Asus Duo. I can literally turn this lower screen on. And so now I have another screen below. Being persnickety right now only because I'm displaying on other screens, so my computer just had to do multi-monitors. But yeah, I can put anything I want down here, so I can do this as a timeline in my Adobe Premiere software, or I can also use it in DaVinci Resolve if I'm using that. So that's a real cool laptop. And it's also an i9 processor, and it's got a 2060 RTX NVIDIA card in it, so it works really well for video editing. But I can honestly say there's been times where that thing just doesn't cut it, and that's why I have the workhorse back here, my NZXT computer, which I did an unboxing on my son's new NZXT computer, and I showed off mine. His is way faster than mine. Mine's an i9. It's got the RTX more expensive card, the 2080. And now they have the new 3000 line cards that are even faster than that. My son has a card like that in his NZXT computer, and he's just over in the other room right now. So I hope this helps you guys tonight. I'm going to get off the air here. I got dog duty and dinner to make, but thank you so much for joining me. A shout out, share this, like it. If you have any friends that you think this would be helpful for them, come out. If you just need to have a virtual helper. I hope I can help you as much as I can on these live streams. I love the interaction, and I love to be able to grow together. So thank you so much for being on tonight, and I will say goodbye, and we will see you guys here in the next video. But until then, keep growing, keep learning, and keep visiting us here on Life's Journey Production Studios. I'm Keith, and that's it. I have a video coming out very soon, so check that out. It's on the Key Light Air by Elgato that I got for my son for his birthday. So we unboxed that, and we're going to talk about that. So hope you'll tune into that. Until then, have a great night.